I was upstairs editing a video, and I had a thought because I put it in the video. The thing that made me have this thought. Um, it's our responsibility to safeguard our children from what they see and hear. You know, but a lot of us it's done become such a big part of our lives that it's done become normal for us that we actually condition our children for failure. Think about that. Think about the music you let your children listen to. Even on the radio these days, you know, they done expanded what is acceptable for them to, you know, play on the radio as far as the lyrics are concerned. They say stuff on the radio now that, they would have cut out when we were growing up. People try to say, oh, there was, underlying meanings behind the words, in the old music. Well, that's the way it should be. I think it should go back to that. That way the kids don't know what they're talking about, but they so blunt about it these days that it doesn't take a scientist. You speak English, you know what they're saying. And then our kids hear that behavior, and then they see us do it, and they think that's just how it is. And because of that, they don't do what they need to do to become successful. They end up, like I said in my last live, they end up in the juvenile system, and then when they grow up and become adults, they end up in that system. Are y'all not tired of that? Seriously, I know I am. I'm tired of it. You can't even hold a decent conversation with adults these days. Critical thinking. I think that music also limits our critical thinking. You know, you try to talk to people, they don't even know what you're saying. They can't even follow the conversation. It's mind boggling. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a party pooper. It's not about that. I'm all for us having fun, but don't forget, we also have responsibilities. And we seem to forget that part. We just want to play, 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 play. And not handle our business. And it's getting out of hand. It's sad. We put more focus on racism instead of focusing on becoming a stronger society for ourselves. You know, that racism, slavery, that was a long time ago. Yeah, there's some residual, but some of that, man, we doing to ourselves. Trying to play victim. It's time to put that victim card down. I know if I made it out the hood, there's no reason anybody else couldn't do the same. I never lived in the projects. My mama, she did just good enough to keep us out of the projects, but we was right across the street. And I mean that literally. I don't know if you can consider that in the projects, but you know, but it's it like I look around, I don't see many of us, per capita. I don't see many of us doing the things necessary to be successful later, especially our youth. I don't see a whole lot of that. I see some. I know my nieces and nephews are doing that to, set themselves up to be successful later on in life. I know a few others, but like I said, per capita, out here smoking weed and toting guns and stuff like that. And some of them, man, they really good kids, but they just trying to look tough or appear tough to the other kids. We done, everybody, probably even my generation, nobody want a fist fight. I'm not for violence. I would never advocate for violence, but I would rather people fist fight than shoot each other. Get up, shake hands, and it be over. Let that be that. But you shoot somebody, there's no coming back. There's no coming back from that. That's 2 lives or however many plus lives destroyed, thrown away. And for what? A situation that you're going to forget about tomorrow, a week later. We making permanent decisions off of something temporary. My attack is on the media. But my attack should also be on some of y'all parents. Because at what age, at what point are you going to start taking care of your responsibility? It goes beyond money. It goes beyond providing a roof over their heads. It also includes the mental, emotional. You have to teach your kids how to deal with their emotions. We dropping the ball. My generation is dropping the ball. And it breaks my heart. It really do. But this is just another short live. I don't know if anybody's ever gonna watch it, but just putting my thoughts out in the ether, that's all. But y'all take care. Peace and love.